Say my name, say my name. Hello. Say my name, say my. You know that song? Say my name, say my name. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Names. Names, dynamic names. What's your name? What is your name? Partner? So, welcome back. Welcome. Come on in. Come on, have a seat over there. Oh, there's plenty of seats. Hurry up before they're taken. Welcome back to Antonia's Blissful Corner. My name is Antonia, and this is your quiet space for reflection, growth, and peace. Peace. Today, I want to talk about something small, but it feels huge. Something that happens fast, but stays with you long after the moment passes by. Let's talk about names and what it feels like when yours gets mispronounced, especially when you're a quiet person still learning to take up space, right? Still learning that you belong at the table. So picture this: you're in a meeting at a cafe or being introduced to someone new. They say your name and it's not quite right. Maybe they add a syllable, maybe they shave off a syllable, maybe they add a letter where it didn't belong, maybe they turn into a whole different person. And suddenly you're having an internal debate. Hmm. That debate could win an Olympic record. Now, the question is, do I correct them? Do I let it slide? Will this be awkward? Do I want attention? Absolutely not. Is it too late now? Oh, Lord, it's too late. And then you don't correct them. Boy, that has been me forever. Hey, Kay! That has been me, right? I just let it go, right? Meanwhile, you're smiling and nodding like everything is fine, while your soul is whispering, "That is not my name. That is not my name." Here's the truth: it's not just about the pronunciation; it's about being seen, right? Because I feel like people are intentional. People hear what they want to hear, and they do what they want to do, and we allow it. I have. But the reality of it is, your name is your first boundary. It's a place where you get to say, "This is who I am. Start here." And quiet people, we struggle with boundaries because we don't like friction. We do not like it. We don't like drawing attention. We don't like being we don't like being the correction. So even simple things like saying my name correctly. Now we make an effort to get everybody's name right. When I meet people, I sit and I try to figure, like, when I started to, after a few years of being in the company, when I was comfortable allowing myself to meet people and I met them, I would try to associate certain people with certain things. So there's this one guy, his name was Jared. He's no longer with the company. His name was Jared. And I thought, Subways. And that's how I remembered his name. There's another guy named Austin. I was like, Texas. so so that's how I remember people's name. The reality of it is, there are a bunch of people that I do not know, but I don't really interact with them because they're not in my group. They're not in my, well, they're not on my team. They're not in my group. And so therefore it's basically like, good morning, good night to some. But anyway, um, even like simple things like saying my own name can feel like too much to some people, right? Let me tell you something funny though. The only people I've let call me everything but my name are the older folks, especially the ladies, because sometimes they be getting it wrong, and it's like, ooh, do I correct them? So I actually, before this call, I wrote down all the names that I've been called, right? Um, well, obviously, my name is Antonia. A colleague years ago used to call me Antonella. I never used to answer to that because the one thing that I'm not going to do is answer. If you call me the right name, I will answer. If you call me out of my name, you will not get peep out of me. And I tell people, like, when I'm in Jamaica or even here, if I'm walking on the street and people are tooting their horns, you gonna get dust because I can't. And then I say to myself, But if they don't know your name, how are they supposed to call out to you? Don't. One day, a church sister said, "Oh, you didn't. We were trying to. We saw you walking the other day, and we were driving by. We tried to get your attention." I said, "Did you call my name?" She said, "No." I said, "I don't answer the tooted horns, because I just feel more or less that I think highly of myself in that respect, right? I'm not going to answer to tooted horns or psst. Back in Jamaica, when people used to say psst, we used to ask them, "Are you leaking? Like, are you losing air or something?" Anyway, I digress. So Antonia, Antonella, Antoinette, Antonio, some of the names that I've been called. And I'll never, I mean, I can, the only one that I will allow slip is Antonia. I mean, well, Antonio. But my thing is, Antonia is a boy. I'm not a boy. I mean, I'm not a boy. Anyway, Antonella. When my colleague called me Antonella, she was Hispanic. I said to her, "Where in my name did you see L's? How?" Like, Antoinette. I don't even know how that. I mean, Antonia, and it doesn't even go. So I feel like, I mean, there are syllables. I used to tell people pronounce it out Antonia. Goodness gracious. So the family, family, mommy and them call me Ann. Sometimes mommy called me Ann or Tony. Um, Friends or acquaintances that I met along the way, they call me Tony. Fine with that, right? Because my thing is, it's so for that reason when I meet people, and if they ask what's your name, and I see that they're struggling, I'm like, you can call me Tony or Ann, whichever one works for you. Because I would prefer it for you to call me by a nickname than to call me by the wrong name, right? And even more so because now that I am embracing who I am and I'm stepping in my power, I just feel more or less like get my name, put some respect on my name. I'm just saying. Do not remix my name and call me Antonio and Antoni and Annie. Actually, a family member does call me Annie, but I like her, so she is fine. But the reality of it is, I feel like sometimes, the things that matter, we take care, and do our best to make an attempt to fix. Now, that being said, there have been times years ago, everything happened years ago, where I've worked with people, right? So the whole, like sometimes people text me, it'll come in Antonio, and I choose to give them a pass because I'm thinking, well, maybe it was auto correction on their phone. I allow it to pass one or two times, but afterwards I'm like, it's Antonia, there's an A, right? So two stories. One of them was an executive assistant emailed me because this is before we had the phones and stuff in the office, cell phones that is. And she emailed me in the office and she called me Antonio, right? She literally typed Antonio because back then they didn't have autocorrect. And I responded to her, hi, blah, 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 whatever she was asking about, responded to her very professionally. And at the bottom, and I said, by the way, it's Antonia. And I wrote the A in red letter, bolded, underlined. You know what that heifer did? She responded, okay, she responded again, Antonio. I'm like, all right. Because my thing is this, like, sometimes you can tell when people are just choosing to be ridiculous, right? So what I do, her name was Patricia. I said, all right, Patrick. She never did it again. I think that it's perfectly fine for us to teach people how to treat us. And because we're quiet, oftentimes we just allow certain things to go, right? Depending on the person, place, and our mood at the time, like whether or not we're charged or just like drained. Sometimes we just don't want to be bothered, right? But I'm here. You see me wearing my crown today? I'm here basically like, choosing to correct people when they are just not right, right? Because again, my name is my identity, right? I don't want to walk into a room and people expecting to see some man named Antonio, and here comes this fine lady walking in with her stilettos and her big hair. They're gonna be like, "You had a sex change?" We're not doing that. Um, when I and it is actually has happened for many years. The whole misspelling of my name, and it was the other day. What inspired me to do this video? The other day, I was watching a video, and someone said the person's name incorrectly, and the person stopped and they corrected them like with attitude, and I was like, oof. And I was like, I guess I'm not the only one that feels that way, right? So the thing with the seniors though is that when they say your name, when I allow it, right? Because these are things that I allow them to do. When I allow them to say my name for a long time incorrectly, and then I finally do correct them, then they feel a certain way. And they're like, I've been saying your name wrong all this time. Why didn't you say something? And then it's like, oh, oh no. I don't know. I mean, but I'm grateful for this journey because I'm when I look back, I realize that I've been taking tiny steps to find my voice and to grow. And so um I'm grateful for that, right? So my name is Antonia. That's what I used to say to people, like the Antonia. And again, if they can't figure it out, call me Tony. Call me Ann. One of the two. Don't worry about the other one because it's a paragraph. Some people act like it's a whole paragraph. Oh God. It's crazy. Um, but I'm I don't know, like the more you know about who you are, because this is what I'm believing, right? The more you know about who you are, the more personal it feels when someone keeps calling you something else, something other than who you are, right? Once you value yourself, being called out of your name doesn't feel small anymore. It feels like a boundary being stepped over intentionally. Your name matters. My name matters. And correcting someone isn't rude, it's clarity. And I believe that people would actually appreciate being corrected, especially on the front end. Then, like 2 years later, be like, well, you've been saying my name wrong. We're like, why'd you say something? I don't know. Goodness. So I think that it's perfectly fine to tell people my name is Dust. Whatever your name is, tell them. Correct. People call you by the right name. That's the name that your mama or your daddy gave you, right? You earned that name. That's your name. That's your identity. It's not the same, but I was thinking earlier, it's kind of like when they go to prison, they get a number. That's their number. It's your name. Sorry. Oh God. Um, and you know what's crazy? I feel like sometimes when people have unique names, like my mom, she told me last night not to call her name on here. And I said, I don't call your name. Last time was the first time I call her name, but I talk about her every day. Can't help it. She's my content. Um, but my mother has unique first name, unique last name. And along the way in her life, it has been spelled incorrectly, and she went along with the incorrect spelling. So her passport, I think her first and middle name on her passport is incorrect, meaning it doesn't match what's on her birth certificate, or something like that, right? Because her sister, rested dead, her eldest sister in England was the only person who I used to hear say my mother's name correctly. I mean, mommy goes with the name that everybody has, the government and everybody, but the name that she was given, and it's a beautiful name. She doesn't use it because that's not what's in her records. See, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna make nobody call me no, I don't even know what, Antonella. That's not my name. Sorry to any Antellas out there, but that's not my name. My name is Antonia. Not that anymore. It's ridiculous. It's like, when they say, what's the saying about speak when you're spoken to, answer when you're called. So I'm supposed to answer to Antonio. We're not under that. Not doing it. I've introduced myself differently sometimes, just not to have the back and forth. If I see, and it's usually sometimes the West Indians too, like you go and you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Antonia. Their face get all contoured. They're like, no, it's okay. Call me Anne. It's one syllable. Call me Anne. Okay, Anne. Because sometimes even that they get messed up. But I'm in a new season of my life, and I'm no longer choosing to shrink myself to make other people comfortable. My name is Antonia. I mean, I'll give a pass to some people, right? Because sometimes the elderly will, they stuck in their ways. So I'll give them a pass. But not with an Antonella or anything like that. As if it's close to Antonia, I'll go with it. I love my name. When I was younger, I never used to like my name. And I didn't like it because it felt difficult. Like it felt like people didn't understand it, right? But as I grew older, I loved it. I grew to love my name because it was unique. No one else had it. Now it's funny because I'll never forget years ago when I Googled Antonia Allen and a girl came up. I'm like, there's another Antonia Allen out there. There's a whole bunch of other Antonia Allens out there. I don't even know how. This actually, I remember being on Facebook and this is years ago, and I searched and I found an Antonia Allen and I befriended her. She was a white lady. I think she lived in England, I think. But I used to think that my name was special. Like, ain't nobody got no Antonia, let alone Antonia Allen. But there is, unfortunately, there is. But what I try to do when people say my name incorrectly is I try to correct them gently. Um, and I honor myself every time that I do because I feel as if like this is a way for me to advocate for myself. This is a way for me to stand up for myself because I don't have anybody there saying, no, no, her name is not Antonella, it's Antonia. Because sometimes I used to love that when people used to be like, no, you're saying her name wrong. And I'll just be doing like this silent cheer inside, like, yes, get him. If you've ever swallowed your own name to avoid awkwardness, you're not alone. Just know that. Just know that you're not alone. Maybe this week, though, if somebody say your name wrong, try correcting them. Or not, maybe not this week, but maybe the next time. The next time somebody said your name incorrectly, correct them, right? It feels, at first, it might feel uncomfortable, but this is what it's going to feel like to reclaim that small but powerful piece of yourself. My name is Antonia. There was a Breakfast Club episode where Birdman went on the episode and he had issues with DJ Envy and Charlemagne, and he was upset. Birdman was upset, and you can't even take those two seriously, right? But I think he wanted to fight, and he ended up saying, "Put some respect on my name." So that's what I'm going to end with. Put some respect on my name. Please know that your name is your identity. Is the first thing that people get to know about you, and um, yeah, it's time for us to basically reclaim our identity, reclaim who we are, and not just allow people to just call us who or what they want to call us. Feel me, homie? If you're on your own quiet journey of becoming, please make sure you grab my book, Unlocking the Introvert, a pocket guide to understanding and interacting with introverts. It is available at societyofintroverts.com, Amazon, and everywhere books are sold online. And if this message resonates with you, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet. And also share this with someone else who is on their journey so they can journey along with us. Thank you, Kay, for being here with me tonight. Love you, girl. Please have a great night. Have a great night, everyone. Please remember that peace isn't a place, it is a choice. Stay blissful, and I will see you in the next one. Good night, Mama.